Hello, and welcome to this module on reviewing and refining your plan. If you're here, it means you're one of the implementers that the leaders in your ministry have selected to help with actually making their delivery plan happen. What it also means is that they've handed off to you a whole bunch of work that they've done up to this point. The purpose of this module is to help you make sense of that work, to help you evaluate it for yourself and begin to make it your own, and to set us up for the work that's coming. So that's what we're going to focus on here. We're going to examine the approach that your leaders have taken and refine it alongside them. I want to note something that I actually told the last group of people, the leaders serving their minister, is that obviously you have the opportunity to be influential on what your leaders in your ministry think. You have to respect their wishes, but you have to help them refine their thinking at this point because you're closer to the ground than they are. And for that reason, you know things that they don't. And it's your job to bring them to bear to help them improve the implementation of their plan. So let's go ahead and take a brief tour of the work that your leaders have done. The first thing your ministers did was to define their sense of what they want their legacy to be. And the leaders in your ministry have taken that and begun to think about how to operationalize it. So your ministers came back with a legacy statement that looked like this, and the leaders in your ministry began to translate it into operational priorities. What your leaders did was they looked at those priorities and they asked, what are the success indicators that we can use to measure those priorities? And they applied 4 criteria to potential indicators. Is it relevant to the national agenda and meaningful to citizens? Is it affordable within our budget? Is it something we can influence? And fourth, is it measurable? Which is to say, do we have access to the data we need to monitor progress on a regular basis? Or are we willing to do whatever it takes to get that data as soon as possible? They created a long list of success indicators and used these tools to evaluate which ones would be most fit for purpose. As you can see, they scored them on those 4 criteria: relevant, affordable, movable, and measurable. They then thought a bit about how to track progress on each of their success indicators and thought about the next steps that would be required to start taking in data for each one. The next step was thinking about one level down from those indicators. For each indicator, what are the strategies that you're going to undertake in order to actually move the numbers? What each of the leaders in your ministry did was that they wrote down a list of potential strategies and they evaluated it using this tool, which asked them to think about the potential impact that each strategy would have on the success indicators they'd selected, and then also asked them to think about the degree of difficulty. The point here was not to select strategies from only one quadrant of this matrix, but to actually have a balanced portfolio of strategies across shorter and longer term objectives. Leaders in your ministry then launched into a 3-part series of modules on delivery planning. And the 3-part series had the 3 parts that you see right here: delivery chains, prioritized reform strategies, and targets and trajectories. The first module on delivery chains asked each leader to think for a given strategy how it would reach the field at scale, how it would reach families, students, patients, clinics, schools at the requisite scale to make the change that you want, and mapping out from the team in your ministry all the way to that change at the front line, who does what and exactly how. As you'll see from the module, the delivery chain is a really versatile tool and one that's used for a lot of different purposes. One purpose the delivery chain is used for is identifying risks across the chain. We identify a number of different types of risks to watch out for and questions to ask in order to help you think about how to strengthen the delivery chain that you've drawn. Another purpose of the delivery chain is determining where you're going to collect additional feedback on the quality of implementation. And what we went over there was different types of feedback to collect, ranging from inputs and processes all the way to impact on outcomes. And on the other hand, we also covered some of the basics of methods for collecting that feedback. The key takeaway there is that you don't only have to rely on quantitative information. You can also put qualitative tools to work in order to get insight from the front line, from the delivery chain, to understand whether your plan is actually being implemented the way you thought it would be. The second module on delivery planning is called Map Strategies. And this is really about taking the insights that you've drawn from the delivery chain and using them to describe each of your strategies in more detail. There were two tools that we put to use for that. One was what you see right here, called a strategy profile. Think of this as almost the cover page for your strategy, a set of vital statistics that gives you, at a glance, the most important information that a leader would want to know about the strategy, what it will accomplish, and how it will work. The second tool we used is a more granular delivery plan, essentially a list of clear actions with an owner for each, a time frame for each, and a status indicator that allows you to track progress. Finally, the third module on delivery planning is on targets and trajectories. In that, we explored the distinction between an overall vision, a target at a specified end date, and a trajectory of progress between now and that end date, and why all three are actually important components of performance management. Within that context, we also encourage leaders to go back and think about the data systems that they would be drawing on in order to draw and then monitor progress against their trajectories. One point that we made repeatedly was that it's really, really important to think about your data systems and to get them right in order for performance management to happen. So that's a lot of material that we've just covered. Again, for more detailed information, we recommend that you actually go through and experience each of these modules individually and retrace the steps that your leaders have taken. This module has given you an overview of what those steps were and sets you up to think about refining and evaluating the work that the leaders in your ministry have done.